Did you guys see this big Vanity Fair spread that got put out? A ton of like amazing photos, a lot of information, a lot of stuff kind of came out from it, a lot of really cool shit. But the thing I want to talk about today, Kathleen Kennedy takes another L, in my opinion. There's part of the article where they're just going through things, like just talking about the history and the future and like all the stuff that's planned. And they're talking about the 2008 movie Solo explored Han Solo's younger years, with Alden Ehrenreich taking the role of the smuggler. Originated by Harrison Ford, the film has its admirers, but it made less at the box office than any other live-action Star Wars movie. Solo's swagger may be too singular for another actor to replicate. There should, quote, there should be moments along the way where you learn things, says Kathleen Kennedy. True, there are absolutely moments along the way that you should learn things. Now it does seem abundantly clear that we can't do that, end quote. And that got me so fired up when I heard her say that. Because, one, Alden Ehrenreich is the least of the problems with Solo. His performance, like, I didn't love him as Han Solo, but it's not because of Alden Ehrenreich's performance as Solo. There are so many bigger issues at stake that probably didn't connect with the audience. Maybe it was a bad choice of story to pick to make a movie about. Maybe your timing was a bad idea. Maybe the story just wasn't good. The dialogue and the writing was bad. Maybe the fact that Kathleen Kennedy has gone through directors like nobody's business, where Lord and Miller got removed and then Ron Howard was added with like weeks of production left. Like, hello? Maybe that's why things didn't work. I have a laundry list of things, and for those that are familiar with the live streaming and my opinion of Solo, this exists for a reason, of course.
Warning, Solo sucks rant.
I do believe Solo is the worst Star Wars movie, in my opinion. It's my least favorite one. And there's just so much other things that you could have picked than throwing Alden Ehrenreich under the bus as to being the reason why the movie flopped in the box office. It makes me so angry that, and I probably take a lot of this stuff more personally than I need to, but the fact that Kathleen Kennedy, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall her ever taking credibility about completely dividing the fandom from the sequel trilogy and allowing every single director, well, there are two of them, allowing JJ and Ryan to tell singular stories within a trilogy without actually being collaborative and working together and telling, like, you didn't give them the tools to tell a good trilogy, just like you didn't put Alden Ehrenreich in a position to thrive as Han Solo. He was put in an impossible situation. Absolutely a lose-lose spot. Because one, we had just seen Han Solo, or Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Han Solo is an absolutely iconic character, and Harrison Ford is an absolute legend. So yeah, it's going to be a big ask to put a young actor in that role. That's not why the movie failed. If the movie was excellent, I don't care where you put it in the timeline, whether there were other Marvel movies around it or coming off of The Last Jedi or any of the sequel movies. If the movie was great, it would have made $1 billion. But the fact is, Kathleen Kennedy, who's the boss, put this thing that really not a lot of people, I see Star Wars fans always saying that this isn't the story that people wanted. I, for one, am one of them. I did not, when they talked about doing all these standalones, I didn't expect like Solo to be one of them. And it's like, no, the movie's, in my opinion, not good for a long list of things. Basically, the whole story is weak, in my opinion. Basically, you're just showing us things that we already knew existed, and in my opinion, made those things worse. The Kessel Run, maybe this is a me problem, but the Kessel Run was highly, highly uneventful. It did not live up to expectations, and again, maybe that's a me problem. The whole meeting with Chewie and Han drove me crazy, because in that first meeting, we see Han speaking Sherrywook. This is a prequel. We never hear Han use like Chewie's language ever again. And the first thing that pops into my head is The Empire Strikes Back. If Han could speak Chewie's language when he's going into the carbon and he needs to like calm Chewie down, would have been a perfect moment for Han to like speak to him in his native tongue, calm him down, have one of those personal moments just like he did with Leia. And like, it was just like a missed opportunity. And that's always my like I talk about Better Call Saul all the time being flawless. That's the challenge with prequel stuff. Is like you inserted this idea that Han Solo could speak Wookiee, but then you never ever, in all these movies, you never hear him do it. The fact that the big Sabacc card game that Han won the Falcon on, all that did was really damage Lando Calrissian, in my opinion, who Donald Glover killed it as Lando, so I don't want to hear this nonsense about recasting being bad. The idea that Lando is now a cheater, it wasn't his charisma, it wasn't any skill, it wasn't anything about how amazing of a character Lando is that made him a good card player. He had an ace up his sleeve the entire time. He was a cheater. That is horrible for the character. That completely tarnishes the character. So yeah, I mean, I have a long list of stuff. I could go on and on. The way Han Solo got his name, I don't like it at all. I think it was a poor attempt at comedy in what felt like a pretty serious moment. And that's canon forever. And don't even get me down the road about how it just doesn't work story-wise. That Han Solo would be given the name Solo by an Imperial and then become a smuggler against the Empire, but he would keep the name Solo, pass it on to his son, and it's like, wait, why would he keep, like, that name should mean nothing to him, but again, I could just rant and rant about this, but the whole point of this is basically to say, I have a long list of stuff that I didn't like about Solo, and Alden Ehrenreich's performance is barely even on that list. It has nothing to... If the writing and the story was strong, he would have thrived as Han Solo. There's no question about it. You can't tell me that Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker wouldn't be better than CGI Luke Skywalker. Like, when we first got CGI Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, that worked. I thought that was great. It was quick. It was emotional. It was shocking. But then when we got him in, like, in the Book of Boba Fett, there was just something lacking, and it just felt like there wasn't a person there. And because there was a person there, but it was deep fake, and it's just, I don't know. I think the emotion of a actual character that's not being digitally enhanced could go along. And Sebastian Stan's a great actor. I think he could totally pull it off. But this idea that we're never going to recast anyone ever again, we're literally getting an Obi-Wan show with an Obi-Wan Kenobi who is a recast of a legendary actor, and it worked. You know why it worked? Because one, the story works. He's great as Obi-Wan. It fits. The story around him is awesome. Obviously, some of the dialogue is a little questionable, but the story works, and he was able to thrive as Obi-Wan. No one even blinks an eye as Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Alec Guinness was he's way before my time, obviously, but he was an iconic character as Obi-Wan, and McGregor was able to do it just fine. So it's all about story and timing, and there's just so much to it to where I don't think Kathleen Kennedy needed to throw Alden Ehrenreich under the bus. It's just disappointing when there's so many other things. There were production problems, there were director issues, there was just so much. And like, when you're in position of power, you have to take the blame sometimes. You're the top, you're in charge. Everything trickles down because of your decision making. I love the idea of expanding the universe, but it shouldn't be at the idea that you're that continuing George's story is impossible. It's just kind of my feelings.